need support staff to clear the room. Stand up and walk, now.
Hello, and welcome to The Watch. My name is Chris Ryan. I am an editor at TheRinger.com, and joining me in the studio, turning Ultravox up way too loud for this time of night.
That was nice.
It's Andy Greenwald!
I love your energy. We're
You know
coming
what
from
it is?
different places right now.
It's spiritually 1 p.m. in the afternoon for me. Maybe this is when I should be potting. Greenwald, great to see you. The Watch at Spotify.com. The Watch Pod _ on Instagram. You can watch us on Ringer-TV on YouTube. You can watch us and listen to us on Spotify. I'm back from Boston. My hearing is intact.
Great.
Had a great weekend at Something in the Way Fest. Yasi and I went to do a live show with Pat Flynn from Fiddlehead and his new band, How Much Art, who played over at Something in the Way Fest, is awesome.
It's a good band name.
You got to check that band out. We did a live show with him. We did a live bandsplain. And then Yasi and I presented Repo Man at the Coolidge Corner Theater, which is one of my favorite movie theaters in the country. And so great. So many people seeing Repo Man for the first time.
That's fun.
Young faces.
Yeah.
The CR demo getting younger, you know?
Great. That's really good for
Well, I was worried, you wonder whether you're going to it's your audience and you guys are just going to die together, right?
No, you are like the Wooderson of podcasting.
That's right. I get older. These dudes keep discovering heat at exactly the same age.
It's really worked out for you.
No, it's great to see everybody. Boston was very friendly and very cold. It was really awesome to just go to a music festival. 8-degree weather, but it was great.
I also loved this because I got, right when we finished recording last week, I got a little bit of insight into what the weekend would be like because I was there for the dawn of my new favorite buddy comedy, which is you and Yasi, Travel Companions. It was awesome.
Yeah.
You, famously, can roll with just about anything as long as you have your...
Nicotine.
I was going to say Uncrustables, but basically
sure,
yes.
Yeah.
And then Yasi just had a really beautifully chaotic energy. She was carrying a fur coat. She had sent an Uber to get
Fake
her sunglasses.
She had never been to Massachusetts before.
Yeah.
She was quite worried about the cold. Yeah.
No, I think it was modeled on a tauntaun,
yes.
But it was fake. And you guys, from what I understand, spent every second together, and I love it.
No, it was the flights, it was the meals, it was the shows, and then we would take an appropriate break to go read about Jeffrey Epstein and come back together and share our learning.
Do you think that we should promote, like in the same way that like maybe some companies allow people to like, how about like a professional kitchen when you can stage at other restaurants, or you can like, if you usually work
like Noma?
The grill station, I couldn't afford. I don't know. It couldn't be me.
Yeah.
The grill station, then you work vegetables or mise en place. Like, should we do that with the podcast? Where like, because you just had your bandsplain excursion. Yeah. What, could we swap it up? Could we do like a fun Freaky Friday week when everyone's on different podcasts?
We've talked about that before. Your contract is very complicated. There was a lot of performance-based, incentive-based,
Yeah, I would just go on Philly Special for 20 minutes.
Exactly.
But I'm saying everyone else would have a lot of fun.
Exactly. The Sean Mannion Chronicles.
Can I ask you another thing? We're going to get into our normal...
Yeah, I do want to talk about Night of the Seven Kingdoms eventually with you. And I went on. I did Talk the Thrones this weekend with Mal and Joanna, and we had a reaction to that. You can find that on House of R, but industry is going to take up, I think, the majority of this conversation.
Yeah, we are coming. You were just across the country. You were in cold weather. I'm coming off. I would say roughly 2.5-3 hours of sleep, and then 4 hours of international Zooming. So I might be in a different place. But you did mention everyone's favorite reading material from the weekend, the files, the E-files.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say one thing. This is the one. Obviously, my first through 70th thought were, increasing levels of horror.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think that when you saw the emails that were like, so sorry, I have no time to waste with diplomats. I'm currently running 3 companies.
Yeah.
And about to launch things. Did that remind you of texts that maybe I would have sent you? Like in the early 2010s when you'd be like, do you want to get dinner? And I was like, actually, the NBC Thursday night lineup is quite stacked. Up All Night is premiering with Will Arnett and Christina Applegate. Thus, I must decline your invitation.
Do you mean when you first started getting into
I just was worried.
TV criticism?
Not even, I just worry that there may be a strain, and you would be the one to call me on this. That, like throughout our friendship, have I ever front-loaded my righteous reasons for not doing something cool?
No. Yes.
Not that what he was talking about was cool.
Yeah,
I want to tread carefully here, but there was a kind of tone that
you recognized. Yeah.
I worried. It's definitely that reminds me of when my father had an AOL account. So I did understand the sort of like, actually.
Yeah.
But I worried that I've done that for you. Maybe I've missed out on some good times like music festivals in Boston.
Possibly. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just got to say yes.
That's really...
To music festivals in Boston.
And that's it. No other sort of travel.
I spent a lot of time, you're just basically, I was just in a hotel room because it was so cold you couldn't really like gallivant around Boston. Right. And I did imbibe in reading deep into the lore.
Did you?
And I got to say, after doing that, Charlie Heaton's speech at the end of Industry last night made a lot more sense to me.
Thank you for connecting the dots.
It felt like not that cokey.
No, it felt pretty lucid.
Yeah.
Honestly.
We're going to talk about Industry, 1,000 Utes.
No other notes from no other news? Like you don't want
my bad. Yeah. We'll talk about that episode in a second. We did want to do a little bit of a recap of Casey Bloys.
Kaya liked it. Kaya wants to talk about Melania. What a great gross for a doc, first of all. Can we all just agree on that?
I'm glad everybody sung that note.
That's the headline. Really. What a gross doc is what we're saying.
We were going to hit on Casey Bloys' Deadline.com interview and talking about kind of some HBO stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what? This was like... Casey was asked 400 times about Game of Thrones shows, and he volleyed and sort of parried away from a bunch of that stuff. I think those shows will come and go as they are ready to be done. But here's some headlines. Obviously, we haven't really even commented on this, but the White Lotus season 4 casting is pretty much locked up, I think. And it's Helena Bonham Carter.
This is so... How does he do this? Talk about an
artist
who is in control of his instrument.
Yeah. It's Helena Bonham Carter.
Yes.
Alexander Ludwig, who you may remember from Vikings. I know a show that you definitely rocked.
I don't.
Chris Messina, Steve Coogan, Ali Michalka.
From AJ and Ali.
Which I've never watched. And a couple of other folks who I'm not as familiar with their work. But those are the big names.
There's more to come.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah. The cast generally have a few more people.
I wonder if it's a tighter cast this year. I don't know.
Budget cuts?
No, but it was an unwieldy brood last season,
It's true. Well,
it felt like it was in a couple of different...
various nodes of the polycule of the cast, each one had multiple people in it.
Right.
Do you remember that there was maybe the last good time on X.com, the Everything app, was when everyone was like posting pictures and they were like, True Detective Season 2? Mm-hmm. No fun faux casting of the White Lotus can ever do it as well as Mike White actually does it. Like Steve Coogan and Helena Bonham Carter is elite.
Yeah.
It's incredibly exciting. This guy just understands market deficiencies and
I hope Steve Coogan is just doing Michael Caine from Dark Knight. He's just talking about how he won't bury another Batman.
I want him to be doing Philomena.
Oh, yeah. Is that your shit?
I prefer a serious Steve Coogan. No, I can't wait to see this. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. Go ahead.
No, and then, so there was a little bit of that. The pit is going to stick to its annual, but maybe not like January to January schedule. But Casey said that he expects the pit to be an annual season and that they're starting to generate ideas for season 3. House of the Dragon looks to end on season 4, and Casey got into a little bit of the fallout between George R.R. Martin and Ryan Condal, the showrunner for that show. And he was just like, hey,
families fight?
Families fight, just ours, this one broke out into the open. Night of the Seven Kingdoms is currently shooting season 2.
Wild.
Euphoria, which is coming on for its 3rd season in the spring, could do a 4th season. There are now rumors that Sam Levinson has a couple of ideas for it. And then he didn't say this, but I would guess by the numbers, the enthusiasm, and the trajectory, and his comments, which were vague but leaning positive, is that they will renew Industry for season 5.
Yeah, I think he's clearly very pleased with it. I think he feels, he and the entire team there feel very invested in it. And then you can see now it's almost quaint, like the old school marketing machinery that HBO still has access to sort of rumble to life for something that
is rolling downhill when they get some momentum
exactly,
with it. Yeah.
Well said. Like obviously it was COVID, so I don't think there was ever going to be a big premiere, but there haven't been a lot of like co-brands with the industry.
Yeah.
Leading into the season, there have been so many that like the entire cast were ringing the bell at the stock exchange and then having like an all-nighter at Boiler Room.
Right.
Like the show with the young cast who actually like each other and like to go out present a lot of opportunities for this sort of thing. So I feel like they're enjoying that.
I had one sort of broader observation from this entire interview.
I had an observation too. Why don't you go first?
Okay. It was really interesting to watch Casey do Moneyball throughout this interview and talk about, in a way that I think many people who lead networks or run programming departments, and I'm sure they're all conscientious of their budgets, but whether it's because they have to keep up with the Joneses or because they work for technology companies that are like, there is no limit, if you need to spend $80 million on a show that never comes out or whatever, go for it. Several times in this interview, and we'll put the link to the interview, the Deadline interview in the show notes, he refers to like just basically like savvy business decisions. So whether it's a lot of heated rivalry, efficiency of making the pit in California and being able to turn it over in that sense. There's a really interesting conversation about them licensing Heated Rivalry from Crave, which is the Canadian network, having the rights to it for several seasons, I believe, but not being on the hook to renegotiate with this cast that has now reached I'm hosting SNL levels.
But the implication was that Crave is going to have to renegotiate. But
can Crave afford to do that?
I don't know what the Looney is doing right now. Look, Mark Carney can work wonders on the global stage.
That's true.
That was very interesting. And clearly something that he was very involved with, which we know to be the case and is very proud of.
Yes.
That is just...
And then he talked about Night of the Seven Kingdoms being a very affordable, within the context of Game of Thrones, affordable show to make. Although it sounds like season 2, they have to shoot it in more of like a desert climb.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
The other thing that broke concurrently is HBO Max's long rumored, not rumored, I mean, they've been talking about it, that they have a cop companion show for the pit called American Blue. You know about this?
I did not know about this.
Yes, this was...
Is that in the interview?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It broke also on Deadline the same day. This has been in development for a while. It's comes from Supernatural showrunner Jeremy Carver. Basically, as part of the pitification, the networkization, broadcastivization, whatever, of the Max platform, or HBO Max platform, they were like, let's see if we can do this in the 3 spaces that traditionally broadcast networks operated in. So,
doctors, cops.
And family dramas. So the family drama is still forthcoming, or at least in development, from the Berlanti universe under his overall at Warner Brothers. But American Blue was the one that kind of took the pole position for the cop show. And Milo Ventimiglia was just cast as the lead, and David Ayer is going to direct the pilot.
David Ayer knows his way around a cop drama.
And it's another, I mean, the log line is about a native son returning to his hometown of Joliet, Illinois to rescue a beleaguered police force while seeking redemption of his own. The character, Brian Milkovich.
Much like Robbie.
That's the thing. I kind of... You remember we used to do
They can tweak that.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. When we used to do the Joe Nocera take the glasses off Hollywood fixer thing, I just feel like the nickname guy. Like you're Jeremy Carver and everybody at HBO Max, you're busy.
Do you think he'll have a sassy desk sergeant named Lana instead of Dana?
I mean, if we're and it's going to do 15 hours.
Sure.
I don't think it's... There's no insinuation that it's going to be the 24 style, like in real time.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, just it's interesting and it's savvy both to be making these moves behind the scenes to get costs down and get a bigger return on investment. And it's very smart to be forward facing about that. As Casey is in the interview, I would say, and I'm not here to do any kind of media critique. I'll save that for my appearance on the press box, which is being negotiated right now by a lot of teams.
Yeah.
So I don't want to criticize any media reporting, and Nellie has been doing this for a very long time. But I was curious to note that much of her interview was kind of like you said, it was kind of just serve and volleying of her trying to get him to crack about release dates and renewals, which obviously are headline drivers, and there's a lot of curiosity about it.
You just get scoops out of that.
But there's so much more to this story here. Casey pushed back really hard on the development stuff because he doesn't want to give them headlines that they can't back up, but also it seems to be very important to him that there really have been only 2 Game of Thrones shows, that this isn't like flooding the zone like Marvel in 2020. So he didn't comment on Sea Snakes and Arya or whatever the other things in development were. But I just felt like it was a missed opportunity to kind of ask more about the philosophical programming decisions that they're making to stay distinct and to stay relevant, which has become almost existential, not just for Casey, but for HBO. Meaning, how do you cut through the noise? That's what they've all been dealing with in this world of, 400, 500 scripted shows, although that number is going down. But particularly, how do you stay like essentially a killer app when you're potentially about to be subsumed into Netflix?
Yeah, I mean...
How do you continue to do what they've done, which is work the very high level end stuff, the prestige stuff that wins awards, the popcorn stuff, and now the sort of cost-effective stuff, and the one for us, like as he mentions in the story, like
somebody somewhere. Like
how do you continue to make the right choices on all of those different playing fields all at the same time? I think that's interesting, and how the market forces and the upcoming market forces may have changed or affected their decision making.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it wouldn't be a nightmare scenario because FX obviously does really good work within the context of the Disney infrastructure. But it would be a strange experience to kind of evaluate HBO as a vertical within Netflix, and to not think of it as something that was sort of on its own. And then frankly, like, I think the week-to-week releases really do help create like a world of conversation around HBO shows because that's what people are watching. We're currently covering 3 broadly HBO or HBO Max shows on the pod, and almost to the expense of everything else. And that's because we can do so for 2 months. If the pit went up over the course of a weekend, we'd probably be done with it, in 3 or 4 days in terms of covering it. So I think that the biggest question I have about the potential merger or the potential acquisition of HBO in the Netflix world is like, what happens to the release model?
Well,
they have not moved off of that. For as much as they're talking about theatrical, for as much as they experiment with live, for as much as Stranger Things was parceled out over the course of 3 holidays, which was obviously to eventize it, I haven't seen anything that would suggest that they wouldn't put the pit up entirely in one weekend.
It's a great question. And would they treat the traditional, A-list brand HBO shows like White Lotus differently than they would treat these newfangled 15-hour HBO Max shows? Now, that's a way down the line conversation because they haven't even...
Sure.
This hasn't even gone through yet. I keep coming back to this, and I don't know, and maybe our listeners and emailers will give me their perspective on this, people who might know more than I do about it, but I do have a feeling, and this is not just like my vibes, I mean, people have said as much to me, that Ted Sarandos does appreciate the uniqueness of the things that he is attempting to acquire. Mm-hmm. That he does like what DeLuca and Abdi are doing with Warner Brothers Theatrical, and he likes going to the movies sometimes. I think he also likes and admires HBO and what they've been able to do and why they still are considered the crown jewel. And I think he understands that the release model is part of that.
Yeah.
The question is appreciation versus stewardship,
sure,
and how long it takes. Because what is the TV equivalent of what many people are predicting, which is that he will respect theatrical windows. They're just going to get shorter.
Right.
What is the TV version of that?
I thought it was
interesting. It doesn't mean that these shows become like what he's doing with Bridgerton, where it's like half and half seasons.
Yes, but those are when those shows are up in the top, the 99th percentile of Netflix shows.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. I'm sure Sean and Amanda will comment on this in more depth. Christopher Nolan made his first comments in his role as the president of the DGA, and had a lot to say about theatrical windows.
Yeah.
And was sort of like the only thing that distinguishes basically like Sarandos's like attitude towards theatrical windows will be a huge like indicator of where this industry is going, and whether or not theatrical is just sort of like a quick exhibition to qualify for something or to like have something in the theater for a week, or whether it's going to be like we're going to keep using the movie theater as like the primary way people are experiencing this art form.
I mean, thank God for Jeff Bezos and Amazon committed to the theatrical model,
they
even for just sort of scrappy docs. You know what I mean? Like they believe in that, like getting people out to the theater. Do you want to weigh in?
I'm not scared to weigh in. I think almost like
your silence is deafening on this platform.
Well, it's deafening because I lost my voice screaming while I was reading Epstein emails. All right, let's get into industry. How about that?
Okay.
This is a really good episode of television. The show has now kind of gotten into that, like, the breaking of the rules is the rule zone where, the
Disruption.
It's not even that. I'm not even trying to, like, give it tech keywords or anything like that. There is something really exciting about not knowing what's going to happen in the last, like, as we kind of, like, approach the last stretch of this episode, and you've got Whitney and Henry having their kind of Edie and Neil Heat moment staring out over the landscape.
Okay.
Sorta.
Sorta.
And
I didn't remember that part of the movie, but
that felt very Michael Mann to me. Like
yes.
the two guys staring out into the city.
More like Michael Mann on Man.
Michael Mann, yes.
Michael Mann. Men who love men.
That's the conclusion of the episode in a lot of ways. That you've got the Haley and Yasmin moment in the elevator.
Yep.
You've got the boys in the office.
Got some other boys.
And then it keeps going. You know what I mean? And you get Jim Dykker's
this part, yeah.
Colossal kind of like public scandal breaking with his relationship to not only Harper, but his inappropriate relationship with Haley. It gets to his editor. His editor is recommending his termination.
Yep.
Jim spiraling, goes to a pub, gets a bag, has a bag, whatever.
There's bags.
The bag man is also at the pub, Rishi. It turns out these two have been circling each other. It turns out Rishi is the one who broke into Jim's flat earlier, looking for himself an edge on something that he could get involved with to, like, make more money in the market. The two of them recognize each other as lost souls and have
and pawns in a way, right?
A dark night of the lost soul, and that can get pretty fucking dark.
Yeah.
And what transpires is a quite, like, arresting and blazing performance from Heaton.
Yeah.
And just that eerie, like, industry can be like, it'll be 4 on the floor and you're like, I know the rhythm. I know what's happening. I know the beat. And then something will come up, like the weird pub barfly.
That was great.
Who's standing in the back, turning the music up all the time and kind of amping up the drama. And the episode ends with Dycker ODing.
Mm-hmm.
And Rishi flinging himself off his own balcony as the cops are coming into his flat, but not dying.
Yeah.
Breaking at least a leg.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine might have some ACL problems in the other one.
What's our God's name? Dr. James Glashow. What's his name?
James Andrews. And there is a James. What?
The dude who built a new Joel Embiid.
Right. That's who works for the
Jonathan
Sixers.
Glashow. He doesn't, but he works for the city of Philadelphia now. We're going to put up his... You don't know about this? We're going to hang his jersey.
I thought it was like some guy who works for the Sixers who just, like, knee whispered him.
No, he's an NYC orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Jonathan Glashow. We're going to hang it.
All right, relax.
This is the most excited I've been all pod. All right, go on. Let's go back to episode of the year.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I didn't say that. I just was like, it's really, really great. And, you've talked about this really much more eloquently than I did, but just them writing themselves into corners.
Well, it's both writing yourself into corners and acknowledging, like, not throwing, in gambling terms, a subject I know nothing about, but not throwing bad money after good. Meaning, when you commit to doing something, deal with the reality of it to the extent that you can, and then if you have to walk away, you walk away.
Mm-hmm.
And not many shows have the courage of that conviction. So when you introduce a character like Big Jim Dycker and the first 2 things he does are sketchy at best and fireable and amoral at worst,
mm-hmm.
how are you going to square that? Like, how do you prepare? And I think some shows would be like, oh, interesting. How will I wanted to shock with the introduction, but I now must make some sort of sane-washing choice character-wise to make it worth it or make us understand it. And with some of the additions to the character, even within this episode, you could maybe think that those guardrails are being placed.
Yeah.
Well, he's under a lot of stress. He's he's a girl dad, or maybe he had a boy. I don't remember. But point is, dad. We don't.
You got to take the bad girl dads with the good girl dads. You can't have Marty Supreme.
I think it was a boy.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm pretty sure, based on his behavior, it was a boy. And you're thinking, are these guardrails for a potential salvation arc?
Mm-hmm.
And no. No, it's not.
Same for Rishi.
And, same for Rishi, I think, but the descent might be longer because I think Charlie Heaton...
Well, it was pretty quick when he jumped off the balcony.
Great call.
It was like...
The ground came up real fast.
Yeah, it tends to.
I mean, Charlie Heaton, we're spoiling already has done the round, or before this episode aired, had done his round of interviews to go up after.
Yes.
And said that he knew he was doing a half-season arc and everything, and left it all on the floor, quite literally.
Yeah.
But
you can see why.
Yeah.
You know, like you can see why he would do something like that because, yes, in the first couple of episodes, the first 3 episodes, he's largely like, you know, staring at a computer screen and, you know, begging for more time on his story deadline. But like, that's why you would, any actor in the world would sign up to do that.
Especially if you want to change direction from what you've been doing. I'll
say this, as someone who is somewhat of a connoisseur of cokey performances in movies and TV, I thought he did. He had like an energy that I don't think it wasn't like he was doing Sean Penn or doing Ray Liotta. Like he had a very specific energy to him, like when he was doing that. And I thought like his inability to hear Rishi was actually like the funniest part, not funny, but like it was like, this is very dead on of this guy is like, I'm ranting and like this other dude talking about how he might want to kill himself and is never going to see his son. And Dyker's just like, no, man. I see the sheet music, brother. Like I got it.
Well. Also, there was the way that anger, confrontation, fighting, disagreeing was part of the rush. Yeah. That it was not actually, for him at least, that it didn't seem like there were actual stakes to it. But to your point about like mitigating everything through ego and through personal experience, I thought that was one of the nicest things about the episode. Nice. Very little about the episode was nice. But in terms of like through lines, that almost every interaction there was always an extra element on top of it, so that when Jonah is talking to Sweet Pea, he is on the phone at a strip club. He can't even do either without, he can't enjoy Vice or work separate and apart from each other. Everyone is basically staring into a private abyss, and and their conversations are feedback loops with whatever it is they already want to say.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why the show feels different than other shows is not only because of the music and not only because of the performances, but the performances are not. This is not like a marked bass set. I don't think people have to stand still as they do, single master for these actors.
Right.
And there's a lot of like movement within what feels, when they're sets, they look like the real world. And then often it seems like they are shooting out in the real world.
Yeah.
And that flat looked like a dingy prefab, not dingy, but a prefab flat on Canary Wharf somewhere. You know what I mean? Like wherever Rishi had sort of washed up.
I want to go back to the top of the episode before dwelling too much, and then maybe we'll return to the end. But when you were talking about like cinematic references and the show feeling its oats more in terms of drawing from things, I don't know if it was subtle, but like when you talked about like cokey energy and the guy with the volume, I mean, that is straight out of the Boogie Nights playbook. That's the firecrackers.
I have 2 more things about the end before we go back to the beginning. Can I just bounce two things off of you? One is that I liked the idea of Jim's monologue as the piece he would never get a chance to write.
That's well said.
I like the idea that he was like Tender and Siren and, payment processing platforms and the legality of what they're doing in Africa is all just like a kind of, it's like a chimera of like, this is what I really want to say about the world.
Yes.
And so he gets it out.
Right.
And dies. It's his last will and testament kind of.
I mean, when he said, what did he say? We age without getting older, stuck on a wheel of prediction and consumption.
Yes. I have some other darts
I was ready to, I was both ready to stand up and salute, and I was also like, Conrad, I hear your music playing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of...
Nothing serious. We're just steam on a mirror. We built an interface with the world that gives us what we want, but not what we want to want. And, and then goes out like a champion,
With Ultravox playing, an all-time needle drop.
I also wanted to ask you, I know that the man who was in the room with them was real.
Yeah.
But I would like to go back through industry and spot the ghosts.
That's very interesting. So wait, this is great. I'm not going to take you off of this. But I also felt that it was a brilliant inclusion in the scene because there's also a strong, it's not even a whiff. It's a presence of paranoia in this episode, even before the Charlie gets broken out. And the idea that these people were, as you said, circling each other, but maybe more than that this was not a casual encounter.
Yes, that Rishi has been prying into Dyker's life and vice versa.
But like, how high does this thing go? And is Whitney capable of having...
or is Yasmin capable?
Right, of having Dyker killed, or having it set up to look like he was killed. Is Rishi collateral damage in a good way?
Although, let me just pull up justice.gov to
Yeah,
find out.
there's some emails?
Yeah.
Would you mind killing this bloke?
Whoops.
But the cleverness of the episode is in the small details. Like the guy who ends up being their best mate, who has kind of big aging Bez energy, I felt.
Yeah.
Shout out Happy Mondays. His encounter with them is chasing off someone else, right? To earn their trust, which is actual classic spycraft, right? Like you set up both sides of that.
Oh, to like engender their
Exactly.
trust, yes.
So,
I mean, you could argue that Rishi and Dyker are going to have that night regardless.
That's the thing. They don't really need to be pushed. They're jumping.
It's not literally like a ghost. It's just spectral figures
let's talk
throughout
about
the
that.
series.
Who
Like
else are you thinking of?
Clement, in the first season, who is obviously a real person, but is almost like future Rob.
Yeah.
Kind of like talking him through his class crisis.
Remind people, I wanted to talk about Clement.
Clement's
as well.
like one of my favorite inventions of the show, which is in the first season, Rob's sort of assigned mentor who has one client and has been masking his Scottish heritage. I mean, his identity.
One other thing too.
Yeah, and his heroin addiction.
Yep.
And who essentially acts as like Rob's benefactor posthumously and is just this lovely... In half of an episode of season 1, they go on this trip to Amsterdam, I believe.
I don't remember.
Or Antwerp. I think it's Amsterdam. And go to a tailor and like have this experience. And it's just this like incredible, like if industry was a series of short stories, it would be one of my favorite ones.
Absolutely.
We obviously had the commander from earlier this season. So I was like, I kind of want to go back through and think about people who kind of hovered over these characters and then vanished, whether even Adler, you know what I mean? Like the idea of these characters kind of...
Think about the show began.
Right,
the show began...
With the trainee dying in the bathroom.
Yes, and it presents him, I don't have his name in front of me because he was brilliant in Station 11 too, the actor, but like people were being picked off before they even started. And that shadow, I guess, falls emotionally on the characters, even though he's never really mentioned.
Right. Naban Rizwan, sorry.
He's fantastic.
Yeah. Frank in Station 11.
I was thinking a lot about the role Clement played and the lack of Clements going forward. And I think that there's two different ways into a conversation about it with it in the show. And I want to try to present it in a value neutral way because I'm curious your thoughts about it. We've talked a lot so far this season about the lack of familiar settings. We've lost Pierpont, although weirdly, Pierpoint is back.
I was going to ask about this, but yeah.
The succubus of the company is back haunting these characters. But outside of Eric, they've also lost all middle management. Everyone in this show this season is playing dress up. No one more so than Yasmin, who is wearing like an almost cartoonish Grace Jones power suit with the shoulders as she's play acting.
Yeah.
And it's not a coincidence. It's a sign of, I think, cleverness and intent that it's as extravagant a period outfit as they were wearing when they were all dressed up for Henry's birthday.
My favorite outfit in this episode is definitely Henry's. Henry's relatable.
His shirt is open just a little bit?
Yeah, but tucked in, Chelsea boots, and is just kind of like, hey, man.
You need some more layers.
I know I'm aristocratic, but we're all friends here. You know?
We all have our mental health struggles.
Yeah.
So basically this season, the kids are playing dress up, and the only authority figures that are left for them are dinosaurs. The people who run the newspapers, the people who have held the entrenched power. And I think that there's a critical way in of that, where there are moments this season that I've bumped against where like the tender is going to completely revolutionize finance and government and banking, everything in this country. And it's being masterminded by these three dopes, basically, by the end of this episode. And that feels... sometimes I question the reality of that, even though it's in the purpose of drama.
Right.
There are other times when I'm like, oh, this is actually a withering and insightful exploration of the world of a hollowed out middle that exists, where we're a gerontocracy politically and no middle. Like I'm not saying this to big up our pathetic generation, but like people in our generation have never like held power in the country because the baby boomers didn't give it up. And then the younger people are like, what the fuck? Let's just go on OnlyFans, I guess, or Sirens. That seems to be the extent of it.
Yeah.
So, and in the light of that binary, like what James's speech is quite telling. And there's an emptiness at the heart of this. People are play acting at responsibility when really everyone is just, auto looping their sonar pings into their own screens.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you ever feel, though, a lack of, not that Clement was a great mentor, but in a way he was a guide, not necessarily all positive. He was like almost, even when he was alive, he was like a Christmas Carol type figure.
That's what
for Rob. Do you feel the lack of any?
I think that there's like, I don't feel an absence. I think what I'm experiencing watching, this show opens, this episode opens with crisis talks at two different companies.
Yeah.
So Stern Tao, which is essentially, two, 3 people, 4 people at this point, with Kenny banking for them.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of freaking out because Dyker's not published a follow-up yet that exposes these Sunderland, drop sites where people are doing whatever they're doing for Tender.
They need to tarnish the reputation of Tender quickly in order to
secure their shorts or whatever. And then at Tender, they're talking about their new app. Now, while I was watching those first 2 scenes, I was kind of like really distracted by a thought I had of industry with normal music, like what would industry feel like if it was just like bum 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 bum?
Oh, if it was if it was like Tina Fey's husband's circus-like score from like 30 Rock or Kimmy Schmidt. Someone could drop that. Yeah. I'm with you on that because
so when I was watching it, I was like, these 2 companies are quite likely lawless. You know what I mean? Like we're watching that, but open up Bloomberg. They're all companies.
You pay for that subscription. Must be nice. That's great. Maybe you can kick me a free article link sometime.
It's really hard being you.
To the point of music, I do want to say that like it really absolves all sins because I was more critical of last week's episode certainly than you were, and then to have this episode begin with like a classic contemporary drama construction of like an around the horn.
Yeah.
Where we're checking in.
What's going on? How much money do we have? What are we doing?
Yeah. And everybody's a little agitated for reasons that are interlinked. And then the Nathan McKay, the keys drop. And I was like, let's go. That it's really, really just smart asset management.
Yeah.
To be like, we are taking some risky positions, but we are still the same company.
But this is why what happens is like in the same way that you're talking about these experienced veterans moving off the stage, both in terms of like characters on the show, but in the world of finance, if it's all upstart fucking cowboys with short plays or crypto, and I guess we're going to start sounding like Jim Dycker here in a second, like then this is what's going to happen. You basically have 2 rebels like fighting against each other in this show instead of like an old guard and a new guard. And then the only remnants of the old guard are actually like these hollowed out storefronts like Pierpoint.
Yes, which is a front now.
Basically like, it has some name recognition. So it's like basically a piece of financial IP that we're resurrecting. And then at the end of the episode, they basically take a stake in Pierpoint to offset the risk of Pierpoint taking a stake in them, which is, if you can wrap your head around that, you're kind of like, we're so fucked. Did you want to talk a little bit about the love square developing between Henry, Whitney, Yasmin, and Haley, although I would not put love central into this square there.
Let's start with the Henry stuff because I think Kit Harington continues to add to his MEFYC reel.
He's fucking awesome in this show, man.
Do you know what he's really, really good at? I mean, many things as we're learning, but something that I think he was also good at in Game of Thrones. And I wouldn't say, I mean, he's a talented actor, and you're always honing your craft. But there's a specific thing that I think you can trace back to Game of Thrones that I love seeing here, which is that he is, and I know we keep harping on this, he is not a particularly tall man. However, physically, he is elite at menacing people who are even on screen clearly bigger than him.
Yeah.
It's like Allen Iverson in The Paint, basically. He's just like he understands that the way to be bigger and to intimidate people whether it's Whitney, I think in one scene, or anyone else, is he doesn't come over the top like he is bigger. He goes low like a wrestler about to take them down.
Yes.
And it is intimidating. And it's a physical performance, not just a clever verbal performance.
I can't imagine having to act and give emotional intent to the dialogue that Mickey and Conrad write for this show, and how it's so acrobatic and it's so dense. So it's really on the performer to imbue it with the emotional intent of each moment.
Mm-hmm.
He might be the best at it. You can see like pain in his eyes as he says certain things, that because he's not getting his way about how he wants something presented. Like, he's the one where you're watching and you're like, even if I don't understand the concept of what he's saying, or like the real like interaction between, like, if we take a stake in them and they take a stake in this, I understand emotionally what he wants because of the way he projects it. And honestly, you're right. He was like that in Game of Thrones. He was able to, even if it was dense fantasy ideas, like, communicate a very clear emotional kind of reality to the audience. It's like kind of like watching, you can watch tons of people do Shakespeare, and then you watch Emma Thompson do Shakespeare and you're like, oh, like, I kind of understand Shakespeare now.
It's also a much more complicated journey, because I think broad strokes, the journey of Jon Snow is he's nothing, he's the bastard, he's a pawn of history to having agency in it. Yeah. And what's fascinating about this performance is it's someone who is incredibly privileged, who's used to having things his way in a certain way, and has no issues indulging himself in almost any direction. And yet you see him repeatedly almost like buck against the handcuffs that he suddenly finds himself in. Most of them are emotional, psychosexual handcuffs. Like when he says to Yasmin, "You're meant to talk me down. You're doing this wrong. This is not right. I'm afraid of you."
He traps her, He's like, "Give me a lorazepam," and she's like, "I can try and find one." He's like, "God damn it, that's like,
you did it wrong."
Yeah.
And what was interesting, and again, I think the show has been very smart about. Is it too much to keep making these financial analogies, keep backstopping its position? I mean,
we may not even know
I don't
what that means.
I have no idea what that means.
I'm
just going to try it, because you could watch the season up to this episode and you could say, I understand why Henry is being made the CEO of this company for the purposes of an 8-episode season. Beyond that, I'm not entirely clear on it. I'm not entirely sold on it. Then you see the way Whitney looks at him and puts his hand on him, and the talk about, like, building on the conversation from, I believe, the previous episode where he talked about second acts and where they are possible and where they are not. And the way he talks about, much like Yasmin does, pouring his hopes and dreams for what Henry Muck could be into the very flawed vessel known as Henry Muck. You start to understand it on multiple levels, not just on a plot contrivance level, which is really helpful.
Well, in the same way that they're using Pierpoint, is it Pierpoint powered by Tender, or Tender powered by Pierpoint? I can't remember which.
I think by the end, Tender has the upper hand.
It's almost like a guy like Henry is better than nothing. It's like you basically have some name recognition. You have some aristocracy, or, he's a landed gentry.
Sure.
So you're building up from that, and it's better, even if he has failed publicly with Lumi and had mental health and drug problems in the public, you're still... it's like, hey, we'll just we'll go back into the 1980s and just grab this title because it has a higher baseline name recognition than anything else. So I really like the idea that all these people have sort of convinced him that this is King Arthur,
And that he has...
For giving a fucking speech.
No, but he has his St. Swithin's Day speech. Yeah. He goes off book and he moves people in an unmovable room.
Then he blows right by his beautiful wife.
That was awkward. But his beautiful wife is... what's the word? Maybe a monster?
Yeah. Yes. Reminiscent of the Succession sequence with Shiv talking a sexual abuse whistleblower out of coming forward. Yaz gets Haley, played by Kieran Shipka, promoted at Tender as a kind of reward for participating in a threesome with her and Henry /
Also, potentially she's someone on her side.
Yes.
I mean, she is, it's intentional. She is completely out of place.
Yes.
And in front of her skis.
I think she's presenting it to Haley as like, I recognize like great talent in you professionally. And Haley's like, let's be honest, like about what that was.
Yes.
And now I have something on you as well.
That's the arc of the episode. Yeah. Yes. Did you feel? We're talking about how like one of the smart things that showrunners can do is have certain people on an innings count. You know, the James Dycker story served a purpose, and they gave Charlie Heaton enough real estate to make a character, have opportunities, and then also to have it surprise. Were you surprised that the Haley character is going in this direction, or is having the prominence that she is thus far? Not saying that she couldn't be gone after next week. I mean, that's part of the fun of watching the show now.
I also think that like the characters can change week to week, and I didn't see scenes from next week. And we should mention that both Industry and Night of Seven Kingdoms are going up on Friday this week because of the Super Bowl. I don't know how she is going to react to the news that Dycker has died, or that you know, like I don't know how she's going to feel next week. She's a young person, you know. Like I think there's a liveliness.
Yes,
and this is now not like she's not Lena Headey in Game of Thrones. She's a person who's like maybe got more to her than what Yasmin thought, but I don't know that she's like soulless or anything like that.
I'm curious where it's a very intentional choice at this, like having Ken Leung and Mahala be in the show is incredible for the show. I don't know how much conversation, although there may have been some, there was at the genesis about the importance of them being American, you know, in terms of the story, as opposed to we need some Americans in here because it's going to be an international show. At this point in season 4, bringing in these American characters is more significant, and there was some thought to it, as evidenced by that second act's an American life or English life thing. So I'm very curious what is going to be said about that. You know, not just because as an American who's been in England recently.
Yeah.
As are you. I mean, I don't want to step on your experience as well.
Thanks,
I want to hold some space for it. I will say the only time that I really was out on this week's episode was when Calabasas said that I don't rate that at all.
But if she's been in England for 5 years, maybe she started picking up some slang.
You know what I say when I accept my pint of
cheers.
NA. Cheers.
That was really it. That was all I had for Industry this week. Do you have anything else?
The Rishi stuff was excellent. I think Sagar Radia is giving just a great performance. I think it is also another example of playing with timing and expectation, because last week we were talking about how much more, this is probably the right way to phrase it, rope the character had, and how the repercussions will be doled out. And clearly we were expecting more repercussions than Sweet Pea being like, get this guy away from me.
Sure.
That came this week in the form of, that was the other screen mitigating experience when he's getting roadhead from his underage drug dealing.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
But again, it's all on a screen. We have that scene. We see how far he's fallen in a way, although, you know, probably someone in the New York Review of Books is just like, Rishi's job remains the same across these seasons.
Does New York Review of Books do Industry recaps?
No, but I renewed my subscription when they had the big takeout on Effingers. So I feel like now we're really setting the agenda for the elite publications in this country.
For Bloomberg and the New York Review of Books.
Finally, our generation is taking power when it matters. The scene with his surprisingly religious ex-mother-in-law with his son there was a devastating scene. But what's interesting and compelling about the show is the way that they do switch up the tempo. So with those scenes coming in short order, and then him showing up, you know, clearly intentionally with James, I thought, I see. So the Rishi story is now going to be onboarded, like mainstreamed into Stern Tao and everything.
Yes.
And this is just the beginning of it, and I'm fine with it. It's great. I'm ready for him to come back and be the, you know, dirty investigator or whatever it is that he's going to be doing. And then he throws himself off of a balcony, which was surprising. Not that he did it. That episode was clearly headed that way. But then in terms of they keep painting him into story corners, and it's risky and it's interesting. And I'm purely curious to see where it goes, because that outcome for him is not unexpected, but it was unexpected at the end of episode 4.
It was, and it was not unexpected given the way that the way that he had kept running into basically dead ends, cul-de-sacs, professional rehabilitation, personal rehabilitation, you know, and then he finds himself like the guys the people that he is going to be like leveling out with are like coked out people at afters, you know what I mean? And that he's never really going to get a license to do what he did before. He's essentially a drug dealing father of a child that he will never be allowed to see alone again.
Yeah. And whose name is being changed.
And people are frequently calling him a murderer, or at least publicly calling him a murderer.
And he's infamous in a way that I don't think I understood.
Yes.
Coming off of last season, that it would be that people would know about it. We're on a ghost ship. I thought that was industry at its best. And I also just, obviously we know the guys who make it. We've talked to them many times, and I am always looking for convergence between, the meta story of things and the idea of like the middle managers being gone and only dealing with the oligarchs while you try to make something creative that lasts is relevant. I just thought that speech was so nicely twinned with the feature that the New Yorker ran about them, which is back in December, and it's a great story. They explain everything behind the scenes, but the fact that it ends with Mickey going home to be with his family, the story, and Conrad talking about why people are fucking miserable while waiting for his friend who works at Goldman to arrive. I'm like, everything is copy, but it is you can't watch this show.
It feels personal.
That's what I'm saying. That is always the secret sauce to almost anything that we respond to artistically, and not just us people. And I love that. Like the show is, there's a seriousness of purpose to the show that earns it its stripes. Like there are moments, even this season, where I'm like, is it veering into, I said this last week, the more sensationalist, chaotic
elements,
that get headlines or go viral but it knows what it's doing. And there's purpose in the soullessness, and it's attempting to comment on that in a way that I find pretty compelling.
I think that on a week-to-week basis, there's like just lots of gifable moments and kind of there's almost like probably built-in viral quality to it. I wouldn't say that that's something that they're thinking about when they're writing, but it just feels that way when it's like, Kieran Shipka throwing up her mini dress is really going to like blow people's minds. But when you look at like the 4 episodes together, when the themes of this series and season start to emerge, and when you kind of think about all the flourishes that happen as writers, as directors, it's really, this is why we spend so much time talking about it. Let's spend a little bit of time talking about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I talked about this with Mal and Joe. A lot of what we talked about actually at the top of that episode, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it, was the twist and the idea of, was it a twist? Was it a thrill for you as somebody who obviously didn't read the books, but I don't know how much you read about the characters going into it. So spoilers for this 3rd episode of Night of the Seven Kingdoms. But what did you think of the reveal at the end that Egg is in fact Aegon Targaryen?
I was thrilled.
Did you know it?
Yes.
Okay.
I still don't really know what that fully means, and I was going to ask you to help talk me through some twisted Targaryen history. But
just listen to that fortune teller.
But yeah, exactly. But she's good at her job. She should definitely get a raise. So much of, I say this constantly for almost every major show we talk about for the many years we've been doing this podcast, but much like play calling in the NFL, so much of what makes showrunners elite is this innate sense of tempo and timing and how to play, when to call certain plays. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And the reason why I know
I wish there was like a heat map for like what you mentioned, and it's definitely offensive coordinating, and the Avengers are just like fucking redder than the sun. Like
this podcast is personal, much like industry.
Yeah,
we have to bring our whole selves to it.
Yes.
No, but jokes aside, I was aware of that reveal, and we made some passing jokes last week about how they were kind of laying a little bit thick with the edit. But one of the fun things about watching the show regardless, well, the main fun thing about watching the show regardless is that this show is very fun to watch. And that's enough. The second fun thing was knowing what I know, how will they choose to share this information? And this episode through the first half was, there was jousting, but it was relatively slower and more contemplative and gave me the thought that the reveal was coming at the end of the season, that it was going to be a long throat clear before we get there. What they did that I love, and again, this is probably, if not, you can tell me probably because of your experience with Joe and Mal, like from the text or not like a huge creative leap on the part of Ira Parker. making the circumstance in which it's revealed the most dramatically fraught and put it at the exact midpoint of the season is just
that is as it is in the novella, but I thought that whole sequence was beautifully staged.
It was so good, and it was, as my friend Martha says, just good telly, because you see, we've watched it. It plays on so many things: our expectations, our spoiler, potentially having been spoiled or not, our surprise, but also in a very subtle and clever way, it plays on many of ours decade plus of watching Game of Thrones, where we know if you punch a prince in the face, it's not going to go great. Well, and there's only maybe one thing that can save you. And so they pulled it out of the hat at the right moment.
I was thinking about this because these two characters, the main characters, are obviously teaching each other so much. Both, Egg obviously has this kind of insight into the mechanics of when Dunk comes back and is like, this guy says that he was a lowly crabber, and he's like, no, he was actually the son of the guy who ran all crabbing, you know? Dunk is teaching Egg about being kind and stepping up for people who need help. It is a lone wolf and cub type relationship, and sometimes I think I've kind of resented those because plot armor dictates that the cub can't really get hurt, or
in the case of Mando, the cub can't even talk.
Right.
This cub.
But when you put
curses.
that in the Game of Thrones world, I wasn't like, this dude's going to get curb stomped, but I wasn't not like that. I wasn't certain. I was like, this is going to be a tough scene if this dude is acting with no teeth for the rest of this series.
Yes.
But I thought,
dentistry in Westeros.
I thought that the way that they did that whole sequence, I mean, first of all, I've said this a lot. I think Finn Bennett is like really good actor and also like an ace piece of shit on this show.
Huge Cobra Kai energy to it as well, which I loved. Super Johnny. The whole thing was really well staged. Sarah Dina Smith, who's a really talented director.
Yeah. The low angle shot of like Egg kind of with the classical music, the surging music,
I thought it was excellent. And again, like the 30 minutes, you're enjoying it. And then to land and leave us on a place that flips the entire series was really, really expertly done.
Yeah, because I think if you're not reading the books or if you're not really reading any spoilers or anything like that, you're like, oh, right, this is probably going to build up like a sports movie.
Yeah.
And then Dunk is going to learn all these lessons from the characters around him and win or come in second. You know what I mean? And it's different.
Can I ask you a real House of R question?
Sure.
Is anyone in Westeros like white blonde other than Targaryens or bastards of Targaryens? Is the hair that much of a giveaway? I don't remember one way or another.
Yes. I think that is their signature thing from Piles of Incest.
Piles. It's just evocative.
Yeah. I mean, those two, I think now what has happened over the years is that the Targaryens at this point have started marrying other families elsewhere for political purposes, like
to retain power because they no longer have dragons.
Baelor doesn't have blonde hair,
right,
etc.
But that's because, as you educated me last week, this is the era.
No dragons,
but still Targaryen rule. Before things start to really...
I guess Aerion thinks he is a dragon.
Yes. His name is Aerion.
Yeah.
And he wants to rule a nation.
He was one of 5 people to see Melania this weekend.
That's what I was going to say. He would... He's met his moment. A couple other details about the episode. Before we get into the plot, just another like sort of meta observation. Like the two things that you're not supposed to do in show business if you want to have a successful or long career is work with children or animals. And the entire first section of this episode is a young boy yelling at a horse who is just nodding along and giving honestly
good performance.
Really good performance.
Good horse performance by Thunder.
Good horse performance. So is there anything that these guys can't do? Very remarkable. I wanted to shout out Dan Romer.
Yeah. Who's jamming. He's a great composer, Station 11, many other things. Did you teach your kids the Alice song after you watched this episode?
I didn't. No, they're now more down like Gilmore Girls at the moment, which is funny because Gilmore Girls is just, this is not a spoiler, really rife with early 2000s pop culture references.
Yeah.
Children are at sea, but guess who's there to pick them up in the great big boats of trivia knowledge?
Mr. Phantom Planet. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, he like the fiddle in the opening of this episode. He's doing really fun, creative work that again is like a subtle indication of how the show is not Game of Thrones.
Yes.
the music is of a world, but they are being creative and creating a different atmosphere with it. It's just very thoughtfully done. A lot of shitting on the show.
A lot of crapping, a lot of ribald jokes. But I mean, like Game of Thrones itself, I mean, tossing kids out of windows and brothers and sisters having sex. You know, it's like it's a pretty racy world.
Yeah,
as is the one we live in, apparently.
Apparently, as we've learned. Yeah, I guess the only
it's
other
30-minute show, so it's kind of like they eat bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches and hang out.
Yeah, but I had a question about that too.
Okay.
I love, we spent a decade
Joe
covering...
had a problem with the bread to protein ratio.
Oh, yeah. First of all, she's right. But second, we spent 10 years covering Game of Thrones, and all I wanted to do was just linger in the spice markets of Essos. I really wanted a little more, like a hot pie, like...
So you said.
Bring him back.
Yeah.
Do you think they have salt? They have salted... All the salt that I know that they have goes on the beef in order to have a single thing to eat most days. But then when they were cooking those eggs, and like in the bread, like I think it just needs a little... Do you think they're seasoning it?
I don't know. I doubt it. I don't know what that protein, like what that meat was. I assume like Westerosi ham.
It reminded me a lot of an article I read this weekend about Dan Orlovsky's diet.
It's just chicken tenders, isn't it?
It's just chicken tenders and no fruit flavored anything other than fruit.
He looks great.
I know, he looks great. And also, maybe his life's simpler, Like, I don't think he had to line up...
to never have to think about what you want to eat. I mean, except when you go to a nice restaurant and you're like, can you make me chicken tenders?
He goes to a steakhouse.
Yeah.
Every restaurant, a lot of restaurants have kids' menus. I think
true.
That's fine. I don't think he was worried about... I don't think he had FOMO when he saw the pickled nasturtium flowers on the Noma Courage Bagels pop up. You know what I mean? I think he was like, I'm good.
What a deep crap. You dug that one out. That was great.
I made it. I don't think that's what it was. But it probably was.
So the new episodes of these shows will be going up Friday. I don't think you and I are going to be doing a special emergency episode to cover them on Friday. We'll cover them on Monday after the Super Bowl. But we'll be back on Thursday to discuss The Pit. And I might ask you to check out Steel.
Oh, I've been hearing talk about this.
It was pretty good. I watched the first 2 episodes and I'm like, this is kind of what I want from TV.
What is it?
It's Sophie Turner, plays a woman working at like an investment bank that gets robbed in a very spectacular way.
That's fun.
The opening episode is a really great heist. And then there's a sort of spiraling out conspiracy of sort of bad guys and good guys in it. It brings in the government, it brings in cops, but she's sort of this central like Hitchcockian in over her head figure in the whole thing.
And what services?
It's on Amazon Prime, which I think has been doing some great programming recently.
Theatrical and at home.
Yeah. And
we should tell the people. I think this is smart by you. I mean, you are generally, you're pretty private about your portfolio and your holdings. But I do believe you were well positioned in Sophie Turner stock. I feel like you bought early and you held on.
You know what it was? I just thought she was cool.
Sausage content.
She was fine. That's, to be clear, her reviewing sausages on Instagram, which she only did briefly, but she discussed on The Dish with Angela Hartnett, the chef. Mm-hmm. She has a show in England, a podcast, but it's basically a TV show. Aren't they all? Where Nick Grimshaw and Angela Hartnett, like, they prepare a meal as sort of requested by a celebrity, and then they interview them while they're eating. It's quite charming. Sophie Turner is hilarious on it. Like, she just seems like a great hang.
Yeah.
She is super English in that she's just like, I like a bolognese and otherwise just like
a spag bowl.
A spag bowl and a curry.
I mean, that's all right.
Yeah.
I rate that.
That's her Dan Orlovsky menu.
I just think I'm genuinely, like, I think it's impressive when you commit and then you hold your position.
She's cool.
You don't get wavered.
I mean, I don't know. I don't really know much about her other than like I enjoyed her in this show and
you're in Tomb Raider.
And Tomb Raider, yeah. Obviously, Lara Croft's a huge character for me.
Always has been.
Yeah.
Back to the original consoles that she was on, right? You were like, finally.
I've never played Tomb Raider.
My representation of both womanhood and archaeology.
I was too busy with Max Payne, my brother.
You play like, oh right, Max. That was your solo journey when you were just like we didn't like call each other then. We didn't have cell phones. But the next day at the bar, you'd be like, I was in the dark and a baby was crying.
That was the closest I've ever come to like the McConaughey smoking in True Detective meme, because I was actually smoking, looking for the sounds of a baby in a dark room in Max Payne.
And did Rishi stay with you the whole time?
Yeah, but he may not have been there. You know what I mean? Who knows?
We should have a name for this part at the end of the podcast where we just talk about what we want to talk about.
Yeah, we could call it The Watch After Dark if you want. Yeah.
Freestyle 5. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I picked up my older daughter from a sleepover, and I was asking, what did you guys do? She was like, we had the best time. We watched.
Played Max Payne?
We watched no, close. She was like, she's talking about her friend being like further along in Animal Crossing for Nintendo Switch. And she's like, I gotta spend more time playing video games. And I was like, you are my child. And then she was like, oh, and we also played this other game that her friend is really into. And she said the name of it, which escapes me. And she's like, let me tell you about it. And I was like, great. We're alone in the car. We got 11 minutes before you go pick up your sister. And she's like, so you play this woman who goes back to her hometown, and I'm just sort of half listening, because I was like trying to make sure I was going the right way. And she's like, and then the family, your extended family who live in the house, well, the baby falls off a cliff and you play as the baby going off the cliff. And then the next thing you know, you wake up and then you're playing the mom who's reacting to the baby who went off the cliff. And then she goes into a closet and she dies in there, and you play it while she dies. And then I slowly start to turn to her, and I'm like, what is the tenor of this conversation? Because I began the conversation being like, cool, it sounds really creative.
But what was the game?
It's some like, because here's the thing.
Because my wife plays games where it's like you are solving mysteries inside of a house. Kind of like there's a few independent ones that are really cool.
Yeah.
What was there one called like Gone Home or something like that? But what was this one called? You don't know.
I'm Googling, I found it. It's called What Remains of Edith Finch.
And this is, you Google this by being like, threw a baby off a cliff video game?
Nintendo game Edith Dead Family.
What's it rated?
I'm the king of Google, by the way. That was elite. What is it rated?
Yeah.
Are you concerned about your morals or the morals of my child?
No, I'm just wondering how they got access to it. Or like if you have to like, was it in just the regular Nintendo Stream store or whatever?
Stream store. It's made by Annapurna. Shout out the Ellisons. They got their finger in every pie. It's rated teen for blood, drug references, language, and violence. So
well, it sounds like she's got made a stronger stuff than you.
I just can't.
Maybe I can start programming some of her movie nights.
I think honestly you should. But
ever seen Green Room?
Ever seen Greenberg? Like do a double feature. The other thing, this is from my parent corner that I want to run by you, that really blew my mind. And I know for people who have older kids or people who maybe are parenting better, they may be aware of this already. But my younger child was like looking at YouTube, which is already a slippery slope. And I realized that every video that she watches has a like joking interviewing the cast of Stranger Things component, but is generally then a split screen of someone playing Roblox, like turning into squirrels and walking into walls.
Wait, so
and I was like, so are they commenting on each other? And she's like, no, it's just something different to look at while I listen.
Listen to the Stranger Things?
Like both, they are now, like future generations are going to have wonky eyes because most of their YouTube content is we're so doomed.
Yeah.
That said, maybe on Netflix, they could run the rewatchables on half the screen, press box on the other half of the screen.
How often, though, like for instance, when you're doing something or watching something or having conversations with your daughters about their video game content, are you also looking at Gamecast?
You really know how to hurt a guy. I thought you meant looking at a beautiful new edition from the New York Review of Books. Different than the newspaper, of course, publication. How often am I looking at Gamecast? Well,
how often are you second screening your life?
To the degree to which I no longer remember anything, as evidenced by like the in memoriam segment of the Grammys last night, where I was like, oh, damn, about people who left us like 6 weeks ago.
Right.
I would say I'm probably doing it to a worrying degree.
Yeah.
You check out any Grammys?
No. Couldn't care less.
That's not for you.
Yeah.
It was amazing that the Best New Artist category is just all TikTok.
Turnstile won, though. I saw that.
Not Best New Artist.
Rock album, right?
But they don't show those during the broadcast.
That's great. Why would you?
That's because all the real heads are in Boston.
Yeah. Bunch of fucking angel dust.
So, wow. Kai, what's the oldest sounding segment we've ever done on this podcast?
We're fucking cutting edge. We're talking about indie gaming
Yeah, but we're talking about
Post-hardcore music?
But we're talking about it from perspective. I'm sorry. I'm talking about it from a perspective of what are they doing? What is this poison entering my kids? Not that it's not a beautiful game, but I'm like,
In 3 years, you'd probably be like, I'd play that with you. You're just not ready for her to grow up yet.
That's beautiful. Wow. Damn. Just hit me in the heart.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But you could
Yeah.
go full Simmons.
Listen.
And be like, if you're into that, let's watch Poltergeist. Let's watch Halloween.
But I don't want to watch this.
know.
But that said, this is also the same child who, first of all, they're going to get into what they're going to get into, as we are evidence of, and it works out.
As Jim Dycker explained
to us. Yeah, we're all in a ghost ship.
Yeah.
Might as well have some fun.
Yeah.
It was a very memorable hike, which is something, we do here in California for those not here. And like on a holiday, and my daughter was like, I finished the book series that I've been reading. I loved it. And I was like, oh, tell me about it. And she's like, well, it's called The Hunger Games. And I was like, cool. And then she went on to tell me, I kind of knew the talking points, but I didn't know the detail to which every person is savagely killed in the book. And I think she was 8. She refers to the last Harry Potter book as the one where 54 people die.
Did you not experience death as a child, like in terms of like what you read? Didn't you read comic books where like Genosha happened, right?
Look at you. Look at you. This is your fucking secret.
It's not a secret. You want to talk it out? I'm almost done.
You play
House and Powers, man.
You play the comic book and video game stuff very artfully.
Look, man, honestly, after reading Epstein emails for most of the weekend, I might just go back to Red Dead Redemption and reading X-Men.
I think it's a better choice, tapping out. No, I am with you in the sense that I actually don't feel they're going to experience culture, and it's within limits. It's okay.
Yeah.
And they seem fine.
I try to think if I have anything like equally amusing to share with you. Just like life observations.
Sure.
I'm getting pretty frustrated with dog walkers in Los Angeles.
Whoa.
Yeah. I feel like we've really like there's just such like we've just hit such a huge problem with like just the volume. Like every person has a dog now, it seems like, and they all basically walk down my street. And I don't know what I hate more. Like the half-hearted attempts to pick their shit off of what constitutes my lawn, which is like the piece of green that is outside of my house, or the fact that every single one of them walking their dog is completely ignoring stop signs and will just like walk into intersections no matter what while looking at their phone. And I just need you guys to do better. Help me help you. Not hit you with my car.
This is, again, incredible because the pivot from I went to a hardcore festival this weekend to yelling at pedestrian corner.
This is why,
you can tame multitudes.
LA also makes me feel empty. It's this like the quotidian problems that I have when I come back here versus like, I fought the cold to go see Tiger's Jaw, Yeah,
but you don't like people, long-term listeners know that you have an issue with people running wild in your neighborhood. Driving too fast. That was the whole thing once.
I got in trouble for that.
Oh, right.
Guy chased me down because he said I blew through a stop sign. I was like, I slowed down. It's a California rule.
Is that allowed?
Like the California stop?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is it like California sober?
Come on. You know what this is.
I've gotten a traffic ticket
for California stopping?
Yes.
They got a lot of stop signs here, man.
With good reason. Society keeps telling us to go, go, go. Why not use that time?
That's what Karen Bass is doing.
Just slow down.
Yeah.
Put the second screen away, man. Yeah. Just be present in your life.
Yeah.
Think about that Malcolm Jamal Warner was lost.
You never know. There might be
forgotten.
another Giannis podcast out there that you haven't listened to.
Don't get me started on that.
Oh, yeah. We didn't talk about PG.
Yeah. What do you think?
I can't comment. I can't comment.
Because you know the
No, I don't
truth?
know. And I just feel like it's all too vague. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to be like, how dare he betray us?
So that you're speaking about for
Paul
people
George,
who are
who is
uninterested
an
in
important piece of the Philadelphia 76ers renaissance that we're experiencing. He was fucking good the other night.
Yeah, which is why they immediately drug tested him.
Yeah, but like he said...
I was questioning renaissance, but yes, he has been playing well.
Paul George got suspended for 25 games for taking an illegal substance, and in his statement was just like, I have been working on my mental health and was not diligent in checking certain things, and I accept full responsibilities for my actions. You can speculate all you want about what that means in relationship to getting a drug violation, but... there's a lot of conspiracy thinking about this.
Because it saved the money in the luxury tax.
It also takes Paul George relatively off the board as a trade piece.
I don't want those trades to happen. I just think that it's a relatively relatable mistake that he didn't read the fine print on the back of the mojito flavored Zins. So, which is also why you're not playing in the league anymore.
I keep getting served like obviously I know why I'm getting served this, but it's like pouches that are not nicotine but are like pure focus, and I'm like,
what's in them?
Yeah. Right? I'm like, should I find out?
The slippery slope I'm on is that now 70% of the reels that get suggested to me are just fully Italian cooking videos, not like, here's how to make pasta, but they're in Italian.
Oh, yeah?
I imagine for Italians, which I'm really enjoying. Like, I'm kind of getting the vibe.
She's sighing over there. I don't think she's loving.
But now, this is it. We can end the podcast. I just wanted to tell you that they're starting to veer a little like Turkish.
Oh. I know what that means.
I don't either. But I'm like, where else is this?
Like hair transplants or like just like Turkish food?
I just want to know if, they're like, this is like a beautiful lamb skewer. I imagine I don't speak Turkish, but like, give me time.
Sure.
But I wonder what it's the gateway to. Like, what's next? Is it
having 34 cats?
Yeah, or is it soft authoritarianism? I don't know.
Next time on The Watch, we'll get to the bottom of all of that. Thanks to Kaya.
Could we make like a skinny bundle where people can listen to the podcast without this part?
Can I add something?
Yeah, come on, Jesus.
New Nancy Meyers movie with Penelope Cruz, Kieran Culkin, Jude Law.
Are they
Owen
actually? They're
Wilson.
shooting this spring, right?
Like announced?
Christmas Day, 27.
Have they?
Wow.
This all just happened while we were recording.
Yeah.
Kieran Culkin, Penelope Cruz, and who?
Jude Law.
Jude Law back. Is it
Jude
Holiday
Law.
2? Were there any plot threads?
No, it's like she has like one last. I think it's a very Bildungsroman.
Like Ella McKay kind of vibes. Like
no, I think it's like there's something about. I thought it was
Emma Mackey is in it too.
Hell yeah, brother.
The Mackey-sance.
I like her.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's not her fault. But she made that movie.
Yeah, who could have known?
Who among us?
Thank you, Kaya.
Thank you, Kaya.
Thanks.
Chime in whenever, especially when we're like in the ninth inning like this.
Do you have anything you'd like to say about like video games or the Mutant Massacre from the early 90s X-Men comics?
Or what you're reading, or what you're eating, or how you're driving.
Or how he's driving.
I just finished over this weekend Among Friends by Hal Abbott, which I did not love.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
No strong rec for
That
me.
is a perfect 110th minute of the podcast.
Yeah. It was okay.
No, to be like, didn't quite like it.
It's a book.
Thanks, man.
Hey, thanks, brother.
Thanks to Kai. Thanks to our listeners. We'll be back on Thursday. Once the pit drops, we'll be up after that, and we'll have some other stuff for you that night.
I can't wait.